sometimes those tunes, they're just too good. You just want to kick back, enjoy it. But I want to give everyone, especially the members out there, a big, huge, warm welcome to this week's Sunday VIP lounge. And this week it's a little bit different. It's our second VIP lounge where members of the channel who support yours truly here, who have shown faith and taken that leap to go one stage further and really helped me do what I do. This is the VIP lounge, second one we've done, and this week we have got a very, very special guest indeed. Oh yes. So just like that, there we are. You like that, Nanogirl? Nanogirl is here, everyone. How you doing, Nano?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. But you were telling me it's like, when was it the last time we done a show together? July?
June.
June? Well, it feels a lot longer than June, Nanogirl. I was actually thinking it was probably pre-Geordie Rose time. I was trying to think about this last night. And like you say, it feels like a year has gone by. But in reality, one season has passed and so much has happened. But how are you doing, Nano?
I am doing great. It's a privilege and very special to be on your Sunday morning show. This is fabulous.
It's the VIP lounge, Nano. This is where the very important people come to hang out. All of our wonderful members over there. And of course, everyone else is watching right now. It's absolutely free to watch. The only thing you get is the ability to take part in the chat room and ask Nanogirl questions later on in the show if you want to become a member, but only if. And they don't need to, Nanogirl. So everyone, it was going to be a members only stream this week, Nano, where it would just be people that had been members of the channel. But I know from the years I've been working with you that, like me, so many people that have listened to you over that time, they instantly fall in love with you. And they like to hear exactly your take, your opinion on some of the bigger stuff going on out there in the world. And I thought, that would be so wrong of me to deny other people out there just because they're not members of the channel. So that's why we've just got the members only chat, and anyone at all is free to watch. So what have you been up to before we get into some of this craziness, Nano?
Oh, well, thank you for including everybody. That's fantastic. So you and I were talking before the show, and I said that I had been pretty busy. I'm trying to make some changes in my personal life. Like, it's probably getting close to time to leave the tech sector and make some moves over closer to where my son and and his family live, and maybe do some different things. And, things have been so crazy this summer that I kind of stepped away and had to get some perspective. And the reason I contacted you for this particular event is I actually saw some positivity in it, as crazy as that sounds. And I felt like I could come back on the show and not be a Debbie Downer for the whole show.
Not at all, Nano. You're never a Debbie Downer, right? But you got in touch with me because of the power outages, which are rolling across Northern California. Now, I must admit, I'd kind of taken my eye off the ball here, but when I went to look today, I picked up the basic facts, and we've basically got 800,000 homes, up to 2 million people, and that's across 34, different districts? And they said between 2 and 5 days, so 35 or 34 counties affected here, between 2 and 5 days without power. And then the thing is, when they're going to put the power back on, this PG&E company, and we'll get Nano to explain it all in a moment, the time-consuming part comes from the fact that they then have to go out and inspect every single power line physically. So there's a lot of people that have been raising questions about what's going on here. And to put it into some historical context, we're talking about the same kind of areas where we've seen the absolutely horrendous Camp Fire from last year, which claimed the lives of 85 people. Now, when I wanted to try and get some information so I would be able to have a better conversation with Nanogirl, something struck me right away, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here because this is one of these occasions, one of these stories that they have switched on the authoritative search results on YouTube. I was looking for Ilana Freeland, Deborah Tavares, people like that talking about this. And when I came over and checked the Californian power outage on YouTube, well, as you can see, it's all very much mainstream sources. And they give you one side of the story, and they give you this almost justification for what PG&E have done because they're looking out for people, right? It's all about safety because of hot weather and winds that are in the area. But that's why I'm really glad Nano did reach out. A, I had taken my eye off the ball here. And B, we need to go to real people for the real story. So Nano Girl, aside from what I got propagandized when I was watching some of these today, tell me what is going on in California.
Well, I think that was a great intro, and you are exactly correct. That was another reason I wanted to come on your show is walking through this whole process. I could barely find any information, and I'm in the middle of it. But let's step back. I want to step back just a couple of months, speaking of June. Now, the other reason that this was really sort of interesting for me is I paid attention to this whole thing. I don't know why. It was one of those things that caught my eye. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, are they really going to turn our electricity off? You know how I've always been kind of arrogant with Joseph, and said, no, we'll never have a earthquake here in the Silicon Valley because after all, we are the Silicon Valley, and they would never do that to us. So that's been corrected in my mind. But let's go back to a date here. If you look at my slides, June 3rd, they made their first announcement.
Do you want me to bring up the slides just now then?
You don't have to. I mean, if you think it would be entertaining for people,
yeah,
if people are writing.
I think it'd be pretty cool since you've put this together. And usually, Nano Girl, when we're rushing about doing our shows in the past, so much of the hard work that you have put in beforehand is lost. So I think it's absolutely brilliant now that we can show this little PowerPoint that you've put together. So if I close this down here, okay, and I bring that up there, there we go.
Yeah, perfect. So let's go to the first slide. And this is what piqued my interest. I'm not going to bore everybody with going into too many details, but if you notice the headline, right? June 3rd, California largest utility warns people to expect blackouts this summer. California's massive and bankrupt utility PG&E is rolling out a plan to de-energize parts of the grid on high wind days to avoid sparking wildfires. And we started hearing from them around this time too. And I saw this and I thought, God, could they really do that? And then if you go to the next slide, PG&E tells all customers to prepare for multi-day blackouts. Sacramento pushes back. Now this is kind of a little bit of an overview of the comments from some of the people, I guess from Sacramento. And one of the people that I liked what she had to say, she was concerned that they were really prepared, that they were going to be able to do a good job with, if you look at including potential impacts on people with disabilities and economic impacts on businesses, which proved to be very brilliant as we kind of went forward. Now, if you look at the date on this one, it's the 15th of August. Well, what happened after this, Kev, is that they started sending us postcards, emails, notes. It's like, by the way, we're going to have this meeting. We want to let you know what you need to do to prepare, how to get ready for all this kind of stuff. And I went to their site about 3 or 4 weeks ago as this started getting closer, and I kept getting more and more postcards from these guys. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are serious, right?
Now,
so we're talking about September. Go ahead.
Let me take the position then of
Yeah,
PG&E just for a moment and just for devil's advocate purposes,
sure.
right? Because the party line on all of this is that because of the dry weather, the high winds that are moving in, then there's a clear and present danger of wildfires, possibly just as fatal as the ones we seen last year with Camp Fire, that one there,
Right.
the 85 people dead. And it's common sense from PG&E's point of view for safety purposes that during times of these conditions, then we have to switch everything off just to be sure that nothing happens. Okay, we're looking out for the safety of Californians out there because bear in mind, last year they were found liable for some of the fires that occurred, and that cost them a load of money. It led them, I believe, to file for bankruptcy earlier this year. I could be wrong there. But with all that going on in the background, then this is why me, as the PG&E faux PG&E guy, I say, Nano Girl, there's nothing to worry about here. We've merely done it to look after you Californians. That was hard for me even to say that, but there you go.
I,
But that's the
I'm
stance that
surprised you
they're
didn't
coming.
choke.
Yes, that's the stance that they're coming from, and it's only fair. I mean, we have to put all kind of sides of this out there, and this is what they're telling people. And this was almost drummed into me the more and more clips that I watched from the mainstream propaganda
Right.
earlier on. And it was almost as if they were all reading from the same PG&E press release, Nano. It really was.
Well, I mean, that's all well and good what you just said, but I just think it's bogus. I mean, we are in the 21st century, are we not? And there's a couple. So there's a couple things. Number one, because of all the environmental laws here, they don't clean out the brush under the trees and they don't do the maintenance on the forest that they should do. So we'll stay completely away from conspiracy theories for the beginning of this.
I'm with you there, Nano.
And
Infrastructure, things like
if
that. That's a
we're
problem.
not taking care of it, we're
Yeah.
not doing due diligence. We're not cleaning up and putting in new equipment and updating. With all the money that evidently our bills are almost higher than everybody else, not to mention the gasoline bills and everything else when you live here. Um, and so there's those two things. I mean, even the guy on the radio that I listened to, who he actually wrote a book, is Brian Sussman. He just on Monday and Tuesday morning, he was screaming, "What the holy hell is this?" I mean, this is ridiculous. And to turn off the power and the on the stoplights and the streets and people that have breathing machines and are on life support or whatever else, that all these health concerns, they just blindly turned them off. It's like, well, these people are close to fires, or forests, we're just going to turn them off. And then the bottom line here, which is not, you can't quantify this in an article or measure it somehow, but your gut feeling of this is bogus. And I'll tell you what,
Something that adds to the bogusness of it, Nano. If they really were this fearful about potential hazards, then they would literally have to close down the grid 365 days a year, because any tree that's falling could potentially start one of these fires. And it doesn't need hot weather or dry winds or any of the criteria that are set up and put in place to trigger the outage that we've seen now. So I'm totally with you. There's something else going on here. And of course, this is at a time when, in my opinion, Nano, that we're watching some of the most intensive climate programming going on via the mainstream, via the politicians. And I'm not saying this has anything to do with it, but I tell you what, they'll be able to point to cases like California, rightly or wrongly, and say, look, this is the cause of climate change is doing this. It's coming to a city near you soon. So I can see it being used for that purpose as well.
Well, yeah, but boy, all I can tell you is, having watched all this and walked through it, it didn't feel like, it felt like PG&E could care less about us Is that somebody who just joined?
A big thank you to Austin, a new member to the channel. Yes.
Yay!
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so let's go over the timeline a little bit here, and I'll kind of give you I'll go through my feeling of this, which is the other thing that got my attention. So, we mentioned the dates, and like I said, August to October, PG&E sent emails, postcards, held meetings that you could all, attend. And on October the 7th, that was a Monday, people were running around getting gasoline, cash. The site went down. The PG&E site went down, Kev. I mean, that was tripwire number one for me.
And this company's something that's come up in my show before, Nanogirl, with Deborah and with
yes,
also Ilana Freeland. So this is a company
we should tell people who owns this. The Rothschilds. They own PG&E, and they own Edison, which is in Southern California, which we'll kind of review later, as we go through the show today. I think we pissed the Rothschilds off. I'm not surprised. I think the other reason I paid attention to this is, was I surprised that they were going to get us back? No. We went after them and sued them, and they're not exactly nice folks. It's the global banks, as she pointed out, right?
Yep.
She recently did another presentation to the Sonoma City Council, begging them to listen to the fact that the Rothschilds own the grid, and that what this electrical mess did to everybody. I mean, people, they are estimating $1 billion in losses for business. Why would you do that? If you were, none of it makes sense. It's just like, I'm sorry, but this isn't all making sense. You know what I mean? So let's go through the timeline a little bit, and then I'll kind of give you an overview of what kind of rang my bells. So by Tuesday morning on the 8th, that's when I believe they did their first shutoff. Tuesday evening into Wednesday morning around midnight. And I woke up in Wednesday morning at 4:00 in the morning, and and my electricity was still on, but I just thought, oh my gosh, this just feels like something so wrong. Like, how you can feel that?
Yeah.
And I spent the entire day freaking out in my head, like, this isn't right. This isn't right. And then I started checking in with my team over here, with my peeps, some peeps that I know that are kind of into this and kind of not. They were on board with me, which was, wow, that was shocking in itself. None of them said, Sharon, you're being insane. And then my neighbor's like, he was waiting for me to say, this is bogus. He's like, yeah, no fooling. And he said, go to, and then like you said, Kev, there's no information on Google. I actually got some information about how people were feeling going to Twitter and just kind of reading everybody's comments. And again, people were like, this is wrong. I don't get this. Doesn't make any sense. I don't have any power. Some people, you couldn't go to school. You couldn't go to work. I mean, if you're a contractor like me and you can't go to work, you don't get paid.
Exactly.
I mean, this impacted everybody. And the other thing is, so my favorite memes were the purge. Like, here comes the purge.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep, definitely.
Third world nation.
And it's funny you say this, right? Because I was looking at one place today, and wait till I bring this up here. Yep. Yeah, it was a place called Morgan Hill, where they were actually imposing curfews.
Yes.
For the pedestrians there. I mean, basically putting a town or a third of a town on lockdown, Nano.
7:00 at night, you could either drive your car in Morgan Hill, but you could not be on the streets at 7:00. 7:00. We still have daylight savings time. It's not dark. And that was the final ringer for me, is I saw some news guy deliver that speech on a news feed, and I thought, okay, this is bogus.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't real. This is, and I kept thinking Jade Helm, to be honest with you guys. I felt like we were in a Jade Helm test.
When you're locking people down, you know, almost like martial law type situation, it feels like there's something
Yes.
more going on here. And people, if you don't believe us, I've got the clip here, so we'll take a quick listen to this. Check this
Right.
out. Yeah, just make it a bit bigger.
Hours to go. Thanks, Darren. One city in Santa Clara County is taking extreme measures to reduce the opportunity for crime during the power shutoff. KPI X5's Kit Doe live in Morgan Hill, where officials have imposed a night pedestrian curfew north of Dunn Avenue and west of Highway 101.
Well, that'll do. I mean, we get it there. I don't want to play it too much for copyright purposes, but a pedestrian curfew lockdown, Nanogirl. It's almost like the Boston Marathon again. Lockdown in place, you know?
Well, martial law. And do you know what is next to Morgan Hill? Gilroy. And what did we have about 2 months ago? The Gilroy shootings. Isn't that interesting? I'm sure it's a quickie dink, though.
Everything's coincidence, Nano. You know that.
And
Nothing's
Morgan
connected.
Hill is kind of isolated. I mean, in the sense of you've got the whole Silicon Valley that's kind of stuffed together, right? San Jose, Cupertino, you know, all these little places were very, like, literally across the street. There's Santa Clara across the street. You know what I mean? But from where I am, I have to drive about 20, 25 minutes to get to Morgan Hill. And then Morgan Hill is near Gilroy. And they're both of those places are kind of, you've got a lot of land around them, which is probably why they've turned off their electricity, at least in Morgan Hill, because it is kind of by the trees, I guess. But it was a great opportunity to see how people would act. I mean, you know, we could all act like this isn't happening, but I really think we do ourselves a disservice if we do. I mean, it is happening. I can't believe it's happening in a first world country, but they've got their plan. They've got, you know, the things that they want to implement, and this is the way that they're going to roll it out.
And Nano, tell me, is it like gale force winds? I mean, is there like a real danger, like potentially from these winds bringing trees down, or is it really nothing out of the ordinary?
Well, that was the other ching, 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 ching this week is there was no weather. There was no weather. And they were chemtrailing us. And that was another thing that for the last couple of weeks, we've had blue skies, minus this last Monday, right? Then they started chemtrailing us. Again, I'm paying attention to this, and I'm thinking to myself on Monday and Tuesday, because I walk every night, are they going to chemtrail us to get the weather to kick up to justify the electrical turnoff? And that was what I was thinking. I mean, you know, like I said, it was kind of odd in a way, because sometimes you go through events and you're not paying attention to stuff. But I kept asking myself these questions. I go, here comes the chemtrails. And they really chemtrailed us. And we hadn't had them for a while. So, yeah, another interesting point. So who's this guy that you're going to...
This is a guy here. I was going to ask you if you keep up to speed with this character. It's a YouTube channel called Blanco Lirio. And he really does. He's got some good coverage. I came across him back when the wildfires were happening last year. He sometimes speaks to people like Ilana Freeland as well. Very, very logical kind of way of thinking about things too. But with your kind of slant as well, Nano, there's something more going on here, as he calls it, Calpocalypse. And it's certainly,
I like that.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more, or it feels and it appears. And from what you were telling me, the positive, because we were really kind of keen to make this a positive message as well. And if there is any positive to be found in any of this, it's the fact that it's almost providing a springboard to wake people up. It's very much like Brexit in the UK. People never questioned politics over here for years. They just, you know, got on with it. But then Brexit came along and people thought, well, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And it feels like this Calipocalypse is certainly having that effect on people around you, because they're starting to question things, and you're thinking these are people that normally they wouldn't go down this road, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I thought it was interesting that by Wednesday, all right, so they did the first turn off Wednesday morning, midnight time, right? They were supposed to do the next one at noon that Wednesday, the 9th of October. They didn't. They put it off to the night. And I kind of wondered if, why did they delay this second phase? And part of it was there was no weather. And everybody that was out there saying something was like, what weather? They actually, another meme, is took pictures of the trees and there's a little tiny breeze. And they said, you turn my power off for this? I mean, like they locked us down for information, which is pretty scary, but that is also another wake-up call. So going through the prep situation on all this, there's a couple of things that I've noticed is like, okay, now I know that Google's probably gone. Like you're not going to be able to go to Google to get an update. So now we go to Twitter, and now we're going to have to find some other avenues.
I like
where we
Twitter.
can actually get updates.
I do like Twitter when it comes to breaking events.
Me too.
Local news as well. If you can find the right hashtag, Nano, that people are using, I think it's a gold mine. It truly is. Of course, there's some nonsense in there as well as it's breaking and things, but that's one of the places I go first now whenever I hear something happening. Rightly or wrongly, I find it far better than, like you're saying, Google. I mean, as much as I love YouTube and everything, we've seen the authoritative result search there. It comes back with just what basically the mainstream are telling you, whereas it's more unfiltered over on Twitter so far. Mm-hmm. Touch wood.
Yeah, no, and I think that's definitely something I'm going to need to look into. And one of my slides includes a couple of comments. I just want to read a couple of comments.
There we go.
And one was, this is some kind of experiment, but not about fire or wind. Maybe they want to see how public will react. If the military would stop geoengineering and HARP, there could possibly be normal rainfall. You all do know that PG&E is owned and operated by the mega rich Rothschild family, the same family who wants to destroy America. Better get used to this. They themselves said this will be the new normal. Now, this came from Channel 10, which is, what we call, a regular media outlet. And it was really interesting. There was over 500 comments, and every single one of them were like this. And I was surprised they didn't delete them, since it was Channel 10.
Yeah.
It was like just a regular media, and nobody gave anybody any grief about these comments. So that was two amazingly positive things. I saw the same thing on Twitter. By Wednesday night, my friend told me, go to Twitter, type in power outage and put in conspiracy theory, which ultimately you didn't really have to do. And all the people tweeting were like, this is crap. This is, the purge. I loved it. They had the purge and what weather, and just, I was laughing out loud. Some of it was so dang funny, but it was so encouraging to see nobody was giving anybody else a bad time about being awake, and people were sharing information like this. I mean, this is extremely hopeful, especially because I think that the view that people have of California is we all are, liberal, libtard, crazy. I heard someone call us Sodom and Gomorrah, pathetic, horrible human beings, and they hope that we fall in the ocean.
Was that Joe Joseph? Was Joe Joseph commenting, Nanogirl? Wait till I have a word with him. He's terrible.
Actually, this didn't come from him, but it actually came from somebody who used to live here and decided and actually said that because they lived here, they were allowed to say that, and that they could say any mean thing they wanted. And I thought, what we are is we've been socially engineered.
It's funny because somebody in the chat room, and I was getting ready to read this out, Nano, its Epic Journeyman says California is a hotbed of social engineering,
Thank you.
particularly SRI. It's completely verifiable, and
Yep.
it's obvious. There you go.
And so if you look at it from a spiritual point of view, and that's important for me to see it this way, is that we are probably one of the first states that you get to see if the idiots in Congress that are there now turn it into some socialist nightmare. This is it. And so we're on the front lines, and we've always been on the front lines. We have brilliant, smart people here. No, we're not the only state that does. I'm not trying to be arrogant here, but we have brilliant, smart people here. They're not stupid. And I know a lot of them have bought off on this social engineering crap, and I get it, or the climate change and all that junk and the environmental stuff. But I also think people have compassion for the people that were affected by this. And my question, Kev, is how many people died? They said only one. They had an article where they said only one guy died when the electricity went off. Is that true?
Mm.
Yeah.
I suspect
and that's
that
not anywhere to be found that I found anyway.
I suspect, unfortunately, that number may be higher. Just saying, you know.
And the other thing I want to throw out there, and this was if you go to the next slide, this
I like
was a
this
great
slide thing. I
slide.
like this. This is really cool.
This was awesome. I think some police department did it and got in trouble or something, but it was the best. I mean, here it is Wednesday night, and I'm trying to find out if my area, my little apartment is going to have the electricity turned off. The site is down. Now, again, we live in the middle of Silicon Valley. We have Google, we have Facebook, we have Apple. You can't keep your site up. You can't. I could see maybe it, broke, as it were, for one day. It was out for 4 or 5 days. What is that? So this was hilarious.
Quite apt,
PG&E
though.
says prepare for power shutdowns.
If me and Scott Lopez were like thinking of some kind of meme or some kind of joke kind of map to post, this would have been it. This would have been it, Nano.
It was brilliant. And The Purge. I personally like The Purge. I mean, if you can't get access to the people that have turned your power off
and Nano
and are going to continue. Yeah,
you know what? Just to go back to what Epic said about the SRI and the social engineering.
Yes.
And this Purge meme, because this is something that's building now, because we've had the movies, we've had one TV show spin-off from it, now there's another TV show going to be starting again. And when you have things like this, these power outages and these memes going around, and this programming that's already been, played upon people, where it's almost now not only okay, but dare I say it, encouraged, that if there's some kind of breakdown in society or power outages in this case, that it is okay to go out there and every man and woman for themselves kind of thing. It's almost as if they want that kind of thing, that they're trying to ferment the perfect conditions for that to happen.
I think that they did, if you look at what they did a great job of having lots of pieces of their Jade Helm test roll, right? So you had curfews in Morgan Hill. You had no access to information. Perfect. I'm not buying they couldn't get their site back up. In this day and age, there isn't even a word for that. It's unconscionable. Seriously. You didn't hear from them. I have a couple of quotes from our buddy, the Gavin Newsom, who's the nephew of Nancy Pelosi, and the CEO of PG&E, but they didn't pop their heads up until Thursday. So, and then they said, oh, we're going to turn your power off at this time, and then they changed it, and then this time. And if it wasn't for my radio station in the morning to tell me where there was an alternative site, because I went on Google again trying to find an alternative site, there was a couple of people that had them there that we could go to an alternative site to find out if we were going to be affected. So, yeah.
That's their
It was
website there. I mean, it's got a huge page with the
right.
expected outages, the shut-offs, when it'll be coming back, etc.
Well, sure, you can see it now.
Look, yeah, yeah. Now you can see it.
Well, shame on me. Maybe I went to the wrong one.
No, I'm saying like very
I know.
nice of them to like update it now so that people, when they're
Yeah.
in the midst of this, how are they meant to check it anyway, whether the website's up or not? They've got no power. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at there. And it shows you the information I was trying to find. Yeah.
It's crazy in this day and age, though. You know.
There's no excuse. And especially if you live in this valley. It's like, what?
And I've seen, is
Y-
it like the governor or like the senator or something of California? He was out and he was really appears to be moaning about PG&E and the way they've handled this. But
Oh,
for me,
he's in
there's-
on it.
yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that, Nano. For me, this company wouldn't be doing that without the say so or the okay from the local government. And the way things are now, local government doesn't do things without the say so of corporations. So they're all in cahoots together, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. I've got a couple quotes down on some of the slides, but oh yeah, no, this is ridiculous. This is really silliness.
Yes,
Yeah,
the slides. I'm loving the slides.
good.
Liking this,
Yeah, this is
Nano.
kind of fun. Yeah, I haven't done slides before. I've done pictures.
Awesome.
But this way you don't have to worry about what picture we on, because usually what I do is send Kev a whole bunch of pictures, and he's like, okay, which pictures which. This way you don't have to worry about it.
This is brilliant. This is like the VIP lounge is very, very educational this Sunday. And, you know, a very important story as well, because we like to have a laugh. We like to have a joke here, usually on the safe spaces and things. But that's
Right.
not to say that these important things aren't going on in the world. And it's not to say that we're ignoring people that are, you know, facing situations like this. That's why it's good from time to time to, you know, maybe wind back on the comedy a little. And I'll be back with Joe and the guys later. You know, we'll be getting into all the crazy stuff. But this is real people that are being affected by this, folks. And we've all at some point been in the midst of a power outage of some kind, of some doing. Imagine it 2 to 5 days and not knowing what on earth is going on. In 2019 in California, you know, the most technologically advanced place in the US. You know, I think if they were a country on their own, they would have like the world's third or second biggest economy, right, Nanogirl?
I think it's maybe fifth or sixth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
top 10 anyway, right? And yet they can't
Yeah.
even get power to their people. That's just it's beyond negligence and shocking to me, Nanogirl. It truly is. And it makes you
Yeah.
wonder, let's give PG&E just a momentary pass, all right? We'll say, okay then, listen, you had to do what you had to do. Now, that doesn't mean to say that when they make the decision to pull the power, a whole heap of other agencies out there go, well, we don't let the crisis go to waste. We can practice martial law drills. We can do X, Y, Z. So again, there's absolutely every chance that this has been used for more than what we're being told. And in fact, there's multiple ways to look at it, Nano. This is a kind of multifaceted operation because you've got the police departments, you've got the alphabet agencies that could just use this kind of thing in the first place. And then it feels to me, though, like the whole thing's been engineered.
I have to say, yeah.
New member coming in. We're going to have Homer Simpson in a moment. I don't want him to rudely interrupt you. And a big thank you to is that now? You have to help me here, Nano Girl. Is it St. Louis or St. Louis?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. There we go then,
But
yes.
some people say St. Louis too, but that's okay.
You
Yeah,
see,
St. Louis.
that's what's confused me. I've heard St. Louis in the past. And then somebody
Yeah.
said, oh, don't call it St. Louis, dude. You're going to absolutely offend people. So I hope I haven't offended anyone in the making of this particular segment of the show. That might just be a member upgrading because we've not had Homer jumping onto the screen. I'm getting used to the way this works now. So, Nano, we will go on to your next slide, shall we?
Yes, we are on
Yeah.
slide 7.
I like it. Yes, I like that.
Okay, so again, and I listened a little bit to Deborah Tavares as well, because I thought that I wanted to make sure I got so when I put this these slides together, I tried to just focus on what I knew, and not on maybe someone saw something or something. I mean, I heard a lot of stuff, trust me, but I don't have any way to confirm it. And so this is more focusing on things that we can back up right now, right? We're not going to go down the super scary conspiracy road necessarily. I mean, we're tipping the light fantastic enough here. So, but this is a power map of Southern California. You see Long Beach, and I didn't realize this, but they have a different power company. It's the Edison, and of course the Rothschilds own them too. So they were
Different
on the
in
same
name
kind of.
only. Yeah, different in name only, Nano.
Interestingly enough, folks, and I know you've heard about the fires, and we'll go over that in a little bit, but I wanted to tell you that a lot of the fires magically sprung up on the 10th, which was Thursday, October 10th.
10-10.
And that's when Gavin popped up his head. It seemed like he became a little more visible, and then the PG&E guy popped his head back up because they had started on Thursday to restore power. And then these fires all happened on the 10th, and we're going to get there in a minute. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And this is just, I'm just reiterating that people were not buying the lies or the confusion. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was this community resource center. Okay, you have to forgive me, but I'm being nitpicky here, okay? I'm being rude and nitpicky, but I'm going to say it anyway. So PG&E supposedly provided these resource centers that were open, and they announced it on Tuesday, but they weren't open until Wednesday. Now, mind you, these guys had 5 months, right? 4 or 5 months to put this all together. And there were supposedly 28 of these resource centers, although this isn't 28 listed here. Well, maybe it is, and they could accommodate 100 people each. Now, if we multiply 28 times 100, do we get 2 million that have been put out? No. And so they announced it on Tuesday that there's these, you heard it on the radio. We have these resource centers. Come in, you can do your cell phone, fix that. We have water for you. You can sit down. And then the press people showed up and interviewed some of the senior citizens in there. And one guy was on a breathing machine, for God's sakes. And then they closed it at night. You got there
somebody in the chat room,
in the morning.
Somebody in the chat room, Germanus, good friend of the show. Cousins live in California, and this is him only hearing about this now. And this ties in with the whole kind of coverage of this, which should be a big, huge story, Nanogirl, right?
Well, I thought, how cynical. 28 times 100? What is that? Not very many. Compared to the 2 million that are impacted. And then to close it at dark.
2,800 versus 2 million.
Yeah.
Not even comparable.
Well, they gave you water. You could recharge your cell phone.
Land of the free, home of the slave, baby. Oh, yeah, take your water and enjoy it.
And you guys, I know I'm being nitpicky, but I just thought this was like, why bother?
You're allowed to be nitpicky. You're the Nano Girl. You should be the governor of California, Nano. Let's start this push. I'm telling you, there'll be none of this nonsense. No. None of this malarkey. Nope.
Speaking of the governor, there's 2 recall things going on after that guy. All right, let's go to the next slide. We've got him coming up. And this was, now, let me tell you what's interesting about this. Look who provided this information, the Daily Mail, right? Man who relied on oxygen dies just 12 minutes after the power shut off. A 67-year-old man from Pollock Pines, California, depended on oxygen, died 12 minutes after PG&E shut down. Some of the stuff I saw, I wish I had kept a copy of it, was on Twitter, was one guy wrote this really compelling thing where he said, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this was that Wednesday morning, and he said, my EPAP machine went off and I couldn't breathe. There's a lot of people on those machines, and they cannot breathe at night for those things. And I thought, well, how many other people died?
Exactly.
You know, we don't have any. And then go to the next slide, slide 11. And it's like, look at this. I'm overwhelmed. PG&E power outage leaves the ill and disabled struggling. Thousands of Northern California PG&E customers who are medically fragile were more alarmed than most about Wednesday power outage. Look at that.
Disabled people have been told they're on their own.
Yes. Well, I think we all are. I think that has been the best message ever. That has got to be, to me, that was positive. I know that sounds really weird, but if they're going to turn off our PG&E and our electrical, which they're planning on 2030, Agenda 30 anyway, maybe it's time we start figuring out how to get off their grid. You know, unfortunately, PG&E is a monopoly right now, but you know, there's a lot of things we can do. There's a lot of things out there that people are inventing that we could help us stand on our own 2 feet. I was talking to my neighbor the other day, and for those of us who live in condos, or not condos, but apartments, we could get a generator in the back of our apartment, and we could hook it up so we don't have any power, or have something that maybe you put in your house. I'm sure there's lots of different things out there. I'm going to start exploring them because, as I said, the best part of what's happened is we know what they're going to do now.
Yeah.
Now it's not a mystery. It's like, okay, now we know. Now we know you're going to do it. You don't care. You're going to turn it off. I'm
Can't
on
believe
my
that.
own.
Disabled people have been told they're on their own.
Yeah.
Wow.
What about the homeless? We have 47% of the United States homeless living in California. 47%. 10% of those folks live in San Francisco. What are you going to do about them? Yeah. Okay, next slide. I love this. California Governor Gavin Newsom has slammed the state's largest utility over its power shutoff, saying they're the result of years of mismanagement and greed.
Wonder how much they funded his campaign to the tune of, they gave him campaign
I think it was
funding.
$200,000 or $300,000. I thought I saw.
Boom! There you go. And I just said that as a throwaway comment, but deep down I knew it. And they'll work together, folks. They all go to the same dinner parties. This year.
And speaking of that, go to the next slide.
Nice.
Paid. See, we didn't lose our sync up.
See, we're on the same page, Nano. This is, the old magic is still there.
It's still there. Paid execs, $62 million in 3 years. Pumped out $4.5 billion in dividends. This is for PG&E. Cut a deal letting a billionaire gain at least $570 million. Wined and dined execs before power outages.
Ouch.
Yeah. And celebrating the 2-year anniversary of the 2017 wine country fires. Now, you and I did a show on those. On those fires 2 years ago.
See, we've done that many shows, Nanogirl. I have to think what fires it is.
This was wine country, and
I
then
do
last
remember, yeah.
Well, wasn't this the first? I think was 2017 the first year we kind of thought they might be doing the DEW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
and
when
then
we
there was a
started
bunch
getting
of fires last year, but I didn't cover them with you. But
the interesting
maybe
pictures.
I did.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I had Deborah Tavares on last year about them.
Yes, she did a great job.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to slide 14. Looky here. By Friday and Saturday, they had, I think it was yesterday I saw this posted, I believe, was 99.5% customers restored. Before I forget, I have to read the message I got from my carrier. Listen to this, okay? This was also on Wednesday, and this also piqued my interest. So I have AT&T Carrier on my iPhone. Ready? California power outage. We would like to help out during this difficult time. If you live in one of the selected areas affected by the California power outage, you won't be charged for any talk, text, data coverages from 12 a.m. on October 9th through 11:59 p.m. on October 13th, which is today. And I thought to myself, AT&T, how do you know what the dates are? I can't even find the dates on this.
Because this shows, this is a perfect example of all these companies appearing to
Yes.
be individual, but in reality, they're all the same. That they've got different faces and different people work there, but they all get together. They all know the big things that are happening. So yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Why would AT&T? Are they like some kind of prophets? Do they have a crystal ball at AT&T headquarters? They've probably got
They remote
Palantir's
viewed
crystal
this.
ball.
No, they remote viewed this information.
That's what it is. Blue chickens told them.
Yes. Now my question is, why would they do this? Is it because if your power's out and your cell phone's not charged, or are they going to handle the, make sure that Google got all the information so they could run algorithms to see what we were texting and talking about? And, I don't know. Miss Cynical over here.
We're driven to cynicism, Nanogirl.
But anyway, I felt like when I got that message on Wednesday, I thought, okay, well, this will be over by Sunday.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, and it is for now.
This
all right,
time.
we're going to go to 15 here.
There we go.
Okay, I was doing more research for the show, and this is a little bit on the chilly side here. Well, when will PG&E turn off the power again for Bay Area? Where was it? Okay. The widely criticized utility has acknowledged problems and how it rolled out this week with massive blah, 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 blah. Let's see. And it says, but there's one sentence, go to slide 16. Check this out. Pacific Gas and Electric Company has not backed away from the importance of the blackouts for fire safety, and weather forecasters say more windy conditions, yeah, right, like the ones that led to the latest outage, which there wasn't any, may be coming as soon as late next week. Now, this article was posted in the San Francisco Chronicle on the 11th, and late next week is October 20th.
So it's going to be 18th. It is going to be happening late next week then.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. I saw this last night. I found this on San Francisco Chronicle, and I think it was on the PG&E site that I found the Chronicle.
It says here this isn't necessarily a one-shot deal. What happened over the past 2 or 3 days?
And so this is not something you get to find on Google unless you have the San Francisco Chronicle. I mean, I thought, well, I didn't see this. If I hadn't gone looking for it, and I actually went looking for it intentionally, I typed in, when is the next one? Because I'm sure they're not done.
So anytime that there's a wind in California now, are we realistically looking at power going off?
If it's over 20, based on what they said, if it's over 25 or 30 miles an hour, yeah, I guess.
Wow.
I know.
And
I know. Well,
Epic in the chat room says California, probably one of the best situated places in the world to go fully, where is it? Where I missed it now. To go, I think it was fully energy independent, And
yes.
Probably is. That's something I'm quite proud about Scotland, Nano. We're very much into renewable alternative energy sources, and it's providing so much percentage to the actual national power grid up here. And I think in 2019, I think perhaps we should be looking more at alternative sources. And when you see things like what's happening in California right now, if it was at all possible, and I get it's not possible for everyone, but to become truly independent, with some kind of solar panels, whatever it is, and I get it's not cheap, folks, I get that. But this is the perfect example of how, we really should be looking at ways of becoming independent from the grid, so that nothing, or so that things like this don't really have too big an impact on us personally. But of course, it still has that bigger impact on the people around us, Nano, who haven't got off the grid.
Well, I think what this does is hopefully inspires people out there that have not put out their inventions to put them out, and we can go buy them on Amazon or wherever we can buy them, whatever it is, things we haven't even thought of yet. Maybe solar powered whatever's, ways that you don't even have to care about PG&E.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, I felt like for my prep work, I got good on some and bad on the others. Like I have a lot of holes that I have to fill. But the other good thing about having this happen is, it's one thing for people to say, you need to prep. But if you haven't been through something, there is no structure to it, at least for me. It's like, well, what does that mean, prep? That's like someone saying, you need to take care of everything. And you can't do that, right? So doing this, going through this, they've also opened their kimono to us as to how they're going to play the game. And that's the other positive part of all this. It's like, you guys let us know how you're playing the game. You're going to be cold-hearted. You're going to turn it off. You're not going to provide information, which means we're going to have to link to each other in a very different way. You're absolutely right. We're on our own, and we're going to have to start taking care of each other. If you have family members that do need, breathing apparatus or whatever, or medicine and all that stuff that they keep telling us, at least we have a better view of how this is all going to go down.
It's almost like a dry run.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's almost like a dry run for people.
It was a dry run.
Yeah.
Well said. Yep. That's how I saw it. I thought, thank you. Now I know. And you're going to come out and boohoo your way through. Like if you look at slide 17, CEO Bill Johnson apologizes and responds to criticism of public safety power shutoff. It's like, Bill, there's really nothing you could say except I resign.
I bet he wasn't apologizing when he was like eating the prawn sandwiches and drinking champagne with the shareholders just before they flicked the switch. I bet he wasn't apologizing in there for the upcoming shortage or outage that was coming, Nano.
Yeah, exact. No, he wasn't. No. And if you go to slide 18, here we got the Gavin. Gavin Newsom said Friday his top concern was getting power restored to residents, but that he was evaluating the merit of the shutoffs and how they played out. And you know what? When you look at all his tweets and all his BS, he didn't say that sentence. He didn't say that. But that's where he's taken us. He's signed up. He's on board. What's that say to you, right? Bingo.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
I must admit, when I seen him speaking, he didn't come across as the most genuine of characters. I must admit. Talk about faux outrage. You know what I mean?
What's really interesting is when he was doing other power positions, like he was the mayor of San Francisco, et cetera, he's going to run for president in 4 years. He's Nancy's nephew, and those are her plans. And it's not a secret. Everybody in California knows that this guy's running. The only thing I can pray is that he fails so spectacularly over this that the rest of the country goes, no way would we consider you.
Good point.
Turkey boy. So that's what I'm really hoping. And I thought this other one, 19, why is Northern California the epicenter of planned power outages? Isn't that interesting?
And why is it then?
Because we're different. The state's climate and terrain, dry winds, long periods between rain, and forested mountains, paired with its largest utility, PG&E lagging behind in updating infrastructure. So that's why. And because it's part of Agenda 21, that's why.
That's more, yeah. But that's the biggest reason.
Yeah, exactly. So go to slide 20. Governor Gavin Newsom, so there are 2 recall efforts on him already. The Secretary of State of California has approved. Now, what they have to do is they have to get a certain amount of signatures for it to go on the ballot. And so I've got one, and I definitely feel like I'm signing up. Dude, I want you out of here. And I love it. Two recall efforts. I don't think that this debacle is going to help at all.
So what's this map we're looking at here then?
Yeah, let's go here. So this is the map, the fire map.
Right,
now, let me throw, and I want to throw down, let's go to slide 25. Okay, this was really
24. I've only got 24 here.
Oh gosh, did I put one up there that didn't include? Well, I did add a couple of extras. Oops. Oh, do you have the one that fire begins in Los Angeles, October 10th?
What number would that have been?
Well, maybe we'll look at 24, 25, or 26.
24. There's only up to 24.
Oh, it's only up to 24?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I added a couple. All right. Well, funny enough, and not ha-ha, there were, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fires that all spontaneously started on October 10th, which was Thursday. And that was Saddle Ridge, Wolf Fire, Sandalwood, Windy Fire, and the Rage Fire. And the one that's the biggest pain in the neck is the Saddle Ridge. And as of this morning, I think it's 35% contained. But
the one I'd heard about was Yosemite Park. There was one near there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's 15% contained, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
So these all started on the same day that the power went off?
Yes, they did. Well, no, in fact, let me give you the times. Okay, so Saddle Ridge was 9:39 p.m., Wolf Fire 6:36 p.m., Sandalwood 3:38 p.m., Windy Fire 2:28 p.m., and Rage Fire 2:18 p.m. So between 2 and 9:30, 5 fires.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? And there's some interesting YouTubes on there out there about this guy took a picture of it. I've never heard of the guy before. I would have provided the information, but I never heard of him. And I thought, well, I don't know, but he was showing some infrared that it looked like there was like sparks or something that ignited it. He said he thought it was like a DEW.
That's inevitable now.
Yes.
You know, whether it's California fires or anywhere in the world. And that's not me rubbishing directed energy weapons, folks. I'm just saying that this is a phenomenon now. Anytime a fire starts anywhere, anything at all, you know, it could be a lens flare or be it evidence of an actual weapon. There's so much information comes out, Nano. It's really hard to put your finger on what's real, what's not, and what the real cause for this was. That's why, you know, I'm really glad we've kind of concentrated on the bigger kind of picture here, the effect it's having on people and the effect it's had in waking them up as well, because we could probably do about 10 hours looking at the various kind of theories as to what started these fires and all the conspiracies out there. But in reality, I mean, how much closer does that bring us to the truth? But this bigger picture, where now people know exactly what it looks like when these outages happen, and hopefully without too much damage have been done, Nano, in the meantime, but, you know, maybe they'll have learned the need now to prep for this in the future.
Well, I think, like I said, I think for people like me that I don't live in a home, right? So how do I do this? What does this look like? And what was really cool was working with my neighbors, making sure everybody had gasoline in their car and cash and water and do you have food and, you know, that kind of stuff. And how can we charge our cell phones? And
it's things that you typically don't think about. It's things that you don't usually worry about, right?
Right.
It's crazy.
You don't have a lot of space, you know, and I think the other part of it that was so weird, Kev, seriously, was going to work and doing business as usual when 2 million people had no power. That to me was so weird. It was just, and the last thing I want to read is this quote from the mayor from was one of the guys down in LA. But anyway, so he was talking about the evacuation of Saddle Ridge. And this is his quote from Twitter, announcing the repopulation of areas in green on this map. He's referring to the evacuation, right? Evacuating. And so there were places in red and places in green. Please be aware that crews may still be operating, but the word announcing the repopulation of areas. Why would you use that word?
It's an interesting word to use. And of course, people say, well, they're just repopulating. People are going back in. But again, you know, when it comes to these people, they choose their words very, very knowingly.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, that kind of covers what we were going to talk about. And I really appreciate everybody listening and being such cool people. We have cool people out there that are awake and that are figuring it out and know what's happening. And I just don't think the next one they pull is going to be quite like this. I think you're going to see some very different reactions. And what I really hope is people that are diehard environmentalists or diehard whatevers start to look around and go, wow, this isn't making any sense. This is not, doing whatever it is we're doing isn't going to get us to where we really want to be. And what about my family? How is this impacting them?
So,
what about my neighbors?
How's America in general impacting families right now, Nano? I know the last times we've spoke, we were always kind of almost shocked at the way the nation's been divided since 2016 after the election.
Yeah.
What's the latest where you are and people around you?
Well,
a lot of talk of civil war and stuff like that, and I'm not going doom and gloom, but I like to get your take on it,
Yeah, there's still a very deep divide. I think that people are even more incensed over Trump, and I think a lot of it is the circus over in Congress and the constant crap from the press. They just never stop. It's constant. I think a lot of us are starting to get in a more neutral stance in the sense of what can we do? How can we start to change things? My son even said that it's kind of interesting. He said, I've been listening to sports. I think I'm going to start listening to people who are talking about real things. And that was like, whoa, that was interesting. Because can you imagine having me for a mom all these years? But it's been pretty hard.
But I think this is the time we're at now, where people are, starting to pay attention, look at air quotes the important stuff, and who knows what the important stuff is, because some people will say one thing's a distraction, but it's the main thing to somebody else, and vice versa. So I think it's encouraging that he's going to pack away the sports. And I must admit, Nano, I've gone the other way, because I've kind of had to intertwine a bit more comedy, a bit more light stuff on the broadcast, because things are so weird, things are so heavy, not just in the US but everywhere. And at the same time, I've probably gone back more into watching my soccer and sports just as a form of escapism. All of these problems are still there for me to look at when I'm researching for the shows and everything else when I come back on air. But it doesn't surprise me that people like you have decided, you know what, I'm just going to walk away for a bit, because, really at times it's hard to see what is to be gained from banging your head up against this wall looking at this stuff all the time, when in reality the effect that we can have on it is very minimum indeed. So I don't blame people like yourself for walking away for a good bit, and it's still just as crazy when you come back. It's strange times.
It is just as crazy, but it's like you're refreshed. It's like like this event. It was like, okay, and I know by Thursday I think I pinged you and said, can I come on the show? And
we made it happen just like that. A couple of days you were in.
I'm so blessed that you're like, yeah, okay.
Well, I knew that the members would absolutely appreciate having you on, because people ask all the time, where's Nanogirl? What did you fall out over? What's the big conspiracy? And I have to tell them there's no conspiracy. It's just the real world catches up with people, you know? We've got lives.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
so funny. No, I still so miss the show, but like you and I were talking before the show, and I said in the beginning of the show, I'm not going to come on here and talk about the same stuff every day and be, you know, because I for a long time I was bashing on you know who, and we're not going to talk about that person. And
No.
I thought that's not getting me anywhere, and it's not funny. At some point, it's not funny. Like you said, you know, it's not helping what is helping. You know, I want to share something too. I felt like through this whole event, and this is the first time I've ever felt this as an American, I feel like we the people don't have the option to go to a Trump or an Obama or a Clinton to help us anymore. Not even a Gavin Newsom. It's like we really are on our own. And we have no choice but to wake up and try to reach out to the people that are around us and start taking a bigger risk. I mean, when you see that 3-minute with Deborah Tavares talking to the Sonoma City Council, so brave, and throwing out the Rothschild name. She goes, the Rothschilds own PG&E, and I don't know. I think she said a bunch of other stuff. And they said, okay, thank you. And she left very graciously after 3 minutes. And I thought, you know, there's such courage in that, but eventually we're going to reach the people we want to reach. And I'm kind of giving less people less of a break. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not giving them breaks. I'm kind of saying stuff. I'm trying to say it in a way that I think they can hear it. But, you know, if people try to shut me down, it's like, I'm just not going to tolerate it either. You know, I'll try to be quiet if people really don't want to hear it, but I'm going to start throwing more stuff out there.
When did Deborah go to the council? I'm trying to find the...
Let me see too if I have it saved on my Word document. Hold on. I might have it.
Do you know, Nano?
Wait, did you go to my slides? Is it there on the very last slide?
No, it might be actually.
Yeah. Wait. Yes. The last slide. Do you have it?
Yeah, I've got it. Hang on. Yeah, I've got it. Wait a minute.
Okay, it says no water, Sonoma, and it's the 3
I've got
minute.
it.
Yep. Play that one.
Copy. Oh.
I wouldn't leave you hanging, Kev.
I know that, Nano Girl. I've got it sussed. Here we go.
Okay.
This is it here, I think.
I will go to public comment. I do have one card. This is on item 44A, which is the declaration of proclamation of emergency due to the de-energization. Deborah Tavares.
Thank you very much. This is Deborah Tavares with StopTheCrime.net. We do live in the WUI, the Wildlands Urban Interface, and with a power shutdown, we have no water, unless we've prepared, and we have. There are many neighborhoods now that have brought in additional tanks, fire hoses, gel. We are on our own, and we're going to be in clogged roads, narrow roads, if we did try to bug out with our life in a backpack. So I would alert everybody to go to StopTheCrime.net because we have posted the Fire Power Outage Community Awareness Preparedness Meeting information that was conducted by a 30-year retiree fire captain. We are being given information through this, more than we are being given information how to harden up than I've ever heard anywhere else, and I attend all the fire meetings. We are aware exactly what's going on. Everybody right now, when you leave this room, look up. We are being heavily aerosol sprayed right now, which is heavy combustible metal spraying. And that is exactly what happened prior to the fires of 2 years ago, prior to the fires in Paradise, Redding, and on and on and on. Now, you can continue to say you don't understand what's going on, but many people do. And we're very concerned about the disinformation when our lives, property are at stake. And I know that this is an enormous, undiscussed, factual reality of weather events. I will tell you, several years back, I went to the PG&E Weather Control Central in the 16th floor of the PG&E headquarters. They know exactly the kinds of weather events that are occurring because they have patents and permits in the state for weather modification. And PG&E is Rothschild. Make no mistake. Thank you.
Yeah, as soon as she mentions Rothschild, thank you, get off of there, please.
Yeah,
she just
that's it,
handed
girlfriend.
she handed them their asses, big time. And
In 3 minutes.
Yeah, and watching them, not one of them could barely even lift their head to look at her. That's the utter contempt that they hold for the people that they're meant to be representing, whether it's over in Sonoma, whether it's where you live, or right now, ground zero, anywhere in this California, these 34 counties that are affected. 2 million people, folks, 800,000 homes because of a bit of wind, some dry weather. Is that really what's going on here? And I can see it from both points of view. I can see it from the power company's point of view. I've listened to Nanogirl's point of view as well. And I must say, I'm leaning towards the fact that there's something more going on here, something far bigger than what we're being told. And I'm just glad, Nano, that you've been able to join us today, take time out to discuss this, because this really is important. And it's something I did take my eye off. And with having covered the fires last year, I'm going to try and reach out maybe to Deborah, Ilana, get somebody else on in the coming days and weeks to really keep on top of this, because that's a lot of people that are being affected. A lot of people just like me, just like Nanogirl, just like all of you out there. Just power, switch off. The outage outrage, indeed, Nanogirl. I think that clip was very good to add to the mix. I think a lot of us need to get more active that way. If we're that way inclined, I'm not a very political person, Nano, but I think when you see how awkward these characters are when Deborah's giving it to them there, I think this really does kind of knock them out their powers, their kind of comfort zone. More and more people need to be raising a voice about this.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. 3 minutes, and she covered everything. It was just amazing, and I love the from Epic Journeyman. We have to just drop out of the current paradigm and be human again, kind of like the communal caveman mentality. Just be involved in what is around you and what you can directly affect. That is so well said, and I've been thinking about when I move, I really hope I have some land to garden. My sister's a great person for learning how to can, so I was thinking about learning how to do canning. We've got a possible food shortage coming our way because of all the weather in the Midwest.
Well, somebody in the chat room was talking about I think it was Jason. He was saying the next thing we'll be having to experience is probably water shortages or rationing. It wouldn't surprise me, and of course, it wouldn't surprise me if they come up with some fake water crisis just to add to the whole climate propaganda that's been pushed right now. If you can make people really feel the effects of this climate change, and folks, I'm not saying it's the climate change pushing this, right? But if you can give people some real world problem like the ones in California are facing right now, no power. And then sometime soon, maybe, you only get so much water a day. That really kind of brings things home. That makes people react. And then what happens? Problem, reaction, solution. There's a lot going on here, Nano. A lot going on. And I don't think, it's going to be confined to California. Unfortunately, I think other areas, other cities, other countries are going to have their own little episodes and events to live through in these coming months, years. It just feels like right now with Greta and everything else, Nano, that they're really, really going for broke with her, right? And I don't blame Greta. She's a child after all. But it feels like MK, climate change, MK, Greta, whatever you want to call it, we're in the midst of something big.
Yeah, well, I think we are. And I think that the Greta thing was so painful to watch and listen to, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. When she was yelling at us, I thought, oh my God. And I didn't want to join the fray of being mad at her because I agree she's a child. But and adding to that, I mean, to have a child yell at an adult like that.
The same adults that are putting her up to this in the first place.
It's like, come on, sweetie. But anyway, but yeah, that was horrific to just even see that and what they're doing with our kids, trying to alienate them from their parents. And there's just so much stuff. It's all this gender stuff and sexual stuff and stuff that's going on in schools. And, I always felt that the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, the globalists, were going to pile it on. And they certainly haven't let us down.
I just didn't think it was going to get this
definite pile on.
This freaky deaky with all, like you're saying there, the biological, the kind of the gender stuff. I didn't think it would get this weird, Nano.
Exactly. And that was, like I said, it was like, I can't go on Kev's show and talk about this. What do I say?
Exactly. What do you say without offending people in a world of the easily offended and brainwashed? It's hard. It's very hard. I definitely get it. Definitely get it.
Yeah. And you just want to tell the truth, really. Like, come on, people. I mean, come on. But again, it's all this. What I've been focusing on is the social engineering piece of it, the whole brainwashing piece, starting really a very, very long time ago, over 100 years ago, through media, Hollywood, but also before that, and all of the stuff that's been going on for years and years and years. And that's been kind of holding my interest, is how did we get here? I'm always one of those people. How did we get here? And then it's like, okay, now what are the steps I need to do to move me away from this, so that I'm not getting caught up in all of this stuff, but they've done a brilliant job of re-engineering our brains. And then speaking of that, what's going on with Google, right? Or your cell phone, you talk about something to somebody, and my phone's right here, so I'm sure I'm going to get a whole bunch of ads for prepping. But, you say something to somebody, and then it comes up on Google, oh, here's your prep stuff. Oh, Amazon will sell you this stuff,
Remember we used to talk about that kind of thing? Like,
Yes.
it would just be the random story of somebody noticing that was happening. And now it's just commonplace, isn't it? It's just, I just expect to be getting listened to all the time,
Yeah.
Nano.
Right.
And that's a horrible place to be, because that's where they want us, But they want us to be almost self-policing what we say and everything else. No, to hell with it. I'm aware of it, but I don't change anything I was going to say. I don't stop myself from saying anything, because that's the ultimate control then, when they have us controlling ourselves to the point of, oh, better not say that in case something's listening. Never get that way, folks. Never get that way. But we've got the whole social credit scoring thing over in China since we last spoke as well, Nano. How
Which we're
fast is
helping-
that? How fast is that
and
all
we're helping
rolling
them
out?
set it up.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad is that?
Yep.
I was glad to see that Facebook doesn't get to do crypto, right? Didn't it fail their Libra thing?
Yeah, and this is a weird one, right? Because I don't know, Nano. I'm going to put my suspicious hat on for a moment, right?
Go right ahead.
Conspiratorial, because we've been talking about how corporations and governments, see, you can't fit a cigarette paper in between them, right? They're joined at the hip from all the
Right.
financing and lobbying and everything else. And you've got this whole kind of outrage. You've got the Bank of England over here saying, oh, we're never going to let this Libra coin be a thing. And then you've got Facebook on the other side reacting to that. When in reality, we know that the banks and Facebook and all these cronies, they're just that. They're cronies. And I wonder what is going to come on the back of this. Why the big theatre around? Will it be something? Will they close it down? I don't know, Nano. And if nothing else, what brilliant advertising and PR before the proper launch of it, right? Because even negative coverage of this Libra coin, it's going to make people want to check it out. It's like the Joker movie. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but all of this kind of outrage around this one movie, it's been a master stroke in advertising, right? Because it's made people go there. Whether that was intentional or not, by the by. But all the drama around Libra coin is going to drum up an interest in it. So I don't know, Nano. I'm watching things very closely there. And I envisage a day where literally people are paid by the Libra coin to scroll endlessly down their list of news updates, and they might get a little reward if they flag some hate speech, or they'll get paid for thumbing things up, or maybe you'll get 100 likes on a post and you'll get an extra special dose of Libra coin just to get us hooked in even more, Nano, to keep giving over that data that after recent scandals and things, we heard about how the popularity of Facebook might have been waning a little bit. You start offering people money to be on that website, money for their time on there. Bang, you've got people spending 3, 4, 500 times the time that they used to be on it. I don't know. You know me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, they would say.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but I think that's probably a very good point. I just didn't want Facebook to get any more power than they have, but that's a selfish
They're like
on my part.
California. If they were like a country, they would be up there in the top 10, populated, probably one of the biggest populated digital countries in the world, if you want to think about it that way, right? So yeah, I'm with
LinkedIn
you.
is too.
They've got so much power, and people that really don't know too much about Facebook, they maybe think they do, but if you don't appreciate the power that they've amassed, then maybe you need to look again at just what Facebook is. It's phenomenal. Truly is phenomenal.
I would agree with you on that. I mean, I'm still dismayed that these companies have sold their souls out. It didn't start out that way. Like, I was talking to a neighbor yesterday. We were talking about the early days of Apple Computer when I was there.
Well,
in
Mano,
the
that's
80s.
important to let people know that, because we've got new members all the time. I mean, you started off the show talking about how maybe you're planning on moving out of the tech sector. Let people know how long you've been in tech.
Oh, God. I started in 1980. That's a long time. And I'm only 33. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, one of my first tech jobs was at Apple Computer when Steve Jobs was there the first time. And I got a job. First I worked for the 2E team, and then I worked for the Mac team. And then I worked for, what was the other one? Lisa. I think I also worked for the Lisa team. And her mom worked over in the manufacturing in Fremont because Steve Jobs was so brilliant at creating manufacturing. The guy, it's like everything he touched just for the most part turned to gold.
Can you imagine what he would
think? On that.
Imagine what he would think of Apple now, Nano, from the price of the handsets, which pretty much has ruled out so many people from even having the chance to have one, to all the back doors and everything else that's happened in recent years. I don't know the guy, but from what I know of him, I think he'd be outraged. I really do.
Well, I'd like to think that too, and I think that when we were working on the Mac, and he would say we're going to beat IBM. IBM was corporate, right? A big corporate. Although he wasn't dumb enough not to make. He knew he had to get corporate to get Apple on the NASDAQ. In order for Apple to really become the company he wanted, he envisioned it was going to have to become some corporate. But I didn't feel like we were the bad guys. I didn't feel that way. I felt like we were the alternatives, and IBM was the bad guy, right? And but I don't know. In the end, did he have to change? Do you have to belong to the club to keep your money? I mean, if you're the Zuckerbot and you're the Bill Gates and you're you're all these people that run these big corporations, do you have to become a part of this mob?
I think so. I think so, Nano.
Yeah.
I think so. I think you either have to accept it and become a part of it, or you never get to that level of wealth anyway. Something will go wrong. Your company will get bought out. Something happens where, I don't know. It'd be a lot easier. A lot easier for you to remain at that super wealth level if you sell out to these asshats, right? And you just do what you're being told to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like the McAfee guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he got out of there And
what do you make of
even though
him,
people
Nano?
treat him like he's crazy, I think he's crazy like a genius.
I think I think there's a lot. I like John Mack. I do. I
I do
like him.
too.
Yeah.
I think he gets it. You know, I think there's a lot of people that get this, that get what's going on, but you may not be able to, they may not be able to say the words. Like the guy that I was talking about for the radio show that I listened to, Brian Sussman, I think he gets it. He gets it, but his audience can only take a little bit of his stuff at a time.
Well, there's
So
a host over here in the UK, and I feel really bad because Eamon Holmes is his name, and he's like the most mainstream guy in the world. Think Anderson Cooper, think household name in America, you know, news talk show kind of dude. And I used to give him absolute pelters when he worked for Sky News. I used to like get angry at the propaganda he was giving us all for breakfast in the morning, and he ended up blocking me on Twitter. Don't blame him. I was absolutely horrible to the guy. And then recently, he's moved away from Sky a while ago, but he's got a show on Talk Sport now. And Talk Sport are one of the few mainstream networks, radio, that entertain David Icke. And I watched Eamon Holmes and David Icke having a conversation, and I was left with that same taste in my mouth. I think Eamon Holmes gets it. You know, here was somebody that's as mainstream as they come, but I think he gets it. Now, can he talk about the stuff we talk about in the circles and the kind of places he moves? Well, you can't when you're on Sky News. Doesn't mean you don't get it, though. So, again, it's caused me to kind of look at these propagandists. They're only actors. They're only reading the news. I imagine some of them probably get it just as much as us because they can't be believing some of the stuff that they're being told to say, Nanogirl.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, Brian Sussman wrote a book about weather because he said that, you know, an unfortunate truth or whatever it is, or, you know, from Al Gore was just BS.
Yeah.
And he was appalled at that book, and he's still appalled at all this climate crap because he feels like it's a money boondoggle for government, and it is. And he's got his finger on the pulse. And I also think that Sussman, because he's done very well in his life, he had, and the people he attracts, he doesn't brag about who he knows, but I always figure he knows a lot of people. They tell him probably stuff on the fly, you know, you can't say this on your show, but you can't say this on your show, but, you know, and so he's got his finger on the pulse. And the station's located in San Francisco. He talks a lot about the homeless situation there because I guess right where the station is, there's a lot of homeless people and how bad it is. Now,
Still just
I
as
was
bad
there
then, Nan? Yeah, I was going to ask you, is it still just as bad?
I was there a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see anything, thank God. Where we were, they weren't. So we actually went to Market Street. I don't know if they've like cleaned, you know, they like, okay, you guys can't be here or whatever. But I didn't happen to see anything, which I was kind of glad. I love San Francisco, and this is heartbreaking knowing that this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city. I mean, it is beautiful. It's on the water, and the buildings and just the hills. And I mean, even if you didn't know what was going on in that city, it's beautiful. And to let it fall into such disrepair. And I think Gavin and Nancy Pelosi's, that's her district. She's let turn into a rat-infested.
She looks like a rat.
Mess.
She seriously looks like a rat. She looks like some kind of vermin. She does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's her district. And, you know, she's in Congress. That's supposed to be something she cares about. And her and Gavin. And so, you know, and it's not, and then you've got LA, which is really quite a mess. And so, and but I also think that this is also part of that social engineering. You make something beautiful and you just bring it to the lowest level. And then the people around you have to fight to not sink into that level, but it eats at you, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to be thinking happy thoughts all the time when you know your fellow citizens are suffering like this. The rent prices are still going through the roof. There's no place to live. In fact, Deborah in one of her other YouTubes talked a lot about that because she was up there for that fire from last year and the year before. They still haven't been able to build their houses. There's no place to live. And then I didn't know this, but Airbnb belongs to Google. And so there's a law for Airbnb. In order to stay Airbnb, you can only have people rent for so long. So people that were put out by the fires were trying to rent these Airbnb rooms, but they'd have to keep leaving because they can only live there for so long. Things like that. So there's the home shortage up where she's at too. There's barely any place to rent here. I mean, like I've been looking for places and they're gone within 15 seconds, and there's not very many. Of course there is if you want to pay $3,000 or $3,800 a month. I mean, some places that used to rent for maybe $2,100 are now double that, Kev.
For $2,100 over here, you're gonna get yourself a really decent kind of mortgage to get yourself a nice house.
Yeah, not here.
No, I know, Nano, and I speak to people from various places in the US.
Yeah.
And it always shocks me. In fact, to the point where I can't compute how I would survive in the US. I really don't. I don't know how on earth's name we could do it. Our house here, and a lot of the housing in Glasgow and around the UK, it's like council, so it's government assisted, there's housing associations. And on average, I would say your rent is maybe $500, $350, £380 a month, kind of, depending where you stay. It might be lower, might be higher. London,
Right.
far higher. But when I compare what we've got over here to what's going on in America, and how just your average American, the kind of prices that they have to pay, not just for housing, but medical expenses, everything else as well. I seriously don't know how people survive. And that's where we're at right now. And that's why there's so many people that there is such a homeless problem. There is so many people struggling. I tell you, how much more worse can it get, Nano, before something has to change? And again, it's not doom and gloom, because I think we are in a time of change, and I'm optimistic. I hope it's a change to something better. But I tell you what, Nano, can't be far off that rock bottom point where we rebound and come back up, eh?
Yeah, I don't even like to ask that question, because every time I've ever done that in my life, the universe shows me.
Yeah,
just
you
how
can never.
further-
It's like setting dates. It doesn't work,
Yeah. It's like don't ask that question, because the universe will show it to you. But
Even don't joke
I
about
think-
it, because once the universe hears that you think you've got the audacity to try and work out how it works, oh no, curveball.
Yeah, it sinks you right into the ocean of the abyss. Yeah. I couldn't agree more, and I think it is, like I said, it's a pile-on. It's a all out assault on everybody for so many different. I mean, if you look at some of the things they're doing in the Midwest, they're tearing down the family, they're tearing down the religions, things that are very, very special to the people in the Midwest, the flooding that's gone on and the farming. And then in California, you have the rents and the fires. And, I know, like, again, I know people think we're crazy and horrible people here, but that's just so
No.
not true. And we love the state. We love the state. I love the state with all my heart. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love the state. I
Oh,
love the state.
your other lover is sending lots of love to you right now. Johnny Whistle's in the chat room.
Johnny Whistles! Oh my God!
There you go.
Hello! Oh, it's so good to see him. Yay, Johnny Whistles! And so I kind of feel like the people that are here, we love the state, and we want to, regardless of where I go, right now the globalists are attacking. So it doesn't matter where you go, right? I mean, it's like you said, it's worldwide. If you live in the UK, it's Brexit and all the other craziness. If you're here, you got this. If you're in Africa, you got their stuff over there. So they're full on right now. They do not want to lose the game. And they're going to do everything they can not to lose the game. And so where you are is where you'll be. And where you be is where you stand up and fight, as far as I'm concerned. I guess that's how I see it,
Yeah. And of course, Johnny's family, they're over in California. I don't know if
Yes,
yeah,
Santa
not sure.
Barbara area, right?
Is that affected at all, Nano? No.
No,
But
I
no.
didn't see that be affected
Good,
this
good,
time.
good. I
No.
don't want places to be affected. So yeah, that's good news. Absolutely. So I mean, anything else caught your eye in between
Um,
since we last spoke and now? I mean, the tech world, everything seems to be. I was saying just the other day, the shows that we done years ago that I've forgotten about, Nano, and
yeah,
not purposely, but we've done so many shows. It's hard to
right.
remember everything. But I tell you, still now to this day, you've got that David Icke ability about you. And what I mean is that it might take maybe a couple of years for things to come into the mainstream that go a long way to proving what you were talking about in the past. And there's often startup companies. I'll think to myself, how do I know that name? And it's because it's the kind of thing you used to bring up on the show. You would be talking about this tech, that tech, and Pepper, the robot. I mean, I remember you first introduced us to Pepper, the night scope as well. The night
Yeah.
scope, it often comes up in stories now, and I often have that little smile on my face thinking, see, we future-proofed people because the stuff you were talking about back then, even now to this day, it's still coming into the mainstream. So what have you been noticing in tech, Nano? This
Oh
is where she
gosh.
says nothing. Kev, I said at the start of the show I was moving away from it. Don't be an idiot. I've not been
I'm
looking at
never
tech.
gonna move away from it. I'll tell you what I've been fascinated about besides all the social engineering is the time stuff. The time travel, the syncs, the different syncs, the different events. Can I share a couple of things with you real
Of
quick?
course you can.
Okay. This was so interesting to me, this whole time thing. So, you know how sometimes we lose things? But anyway, I have this window scraper that I use in my car, and I put it in the same place. I scrape the windows and I put it in the back of my car, and I put it in the exact same place every single time. Well, it disappeared one day. And I thought to myself, okay, it's going to come back when it's ready. And I did look for it. I looked for it everywhere. I thought, did you drop it in the street? Did you throw it away? Did you put it in a bag? You know how you're not thinking. 3 months later, this thing almost jumped out from under my front seat, and I did look under my front seat a bunch of times. And I thought, okay, it was almost like it jumped out. It's like, here I am. And it's little things like that happen, and then you think, or like a time thing where all of a sudden it's like you don't even realize a couple hours went by.
Time's
It's like,
screwy.
wait a minute, where'd it
Yeah.
go?
Time is even more fluid than it used to be, and it was already pretty fluid.
It is.
Mhm.
It is much more fluid. So I've been thinking about those kinds of things. I'm still fascinated by the fact that a lot of times on Google, I don't say anything out loud, and it will present something that I was thinking in my head.
Nah. Yep.
Oy, oy, oy,
Yep.
oy, oy.
Yep. Yep.
So I've been kind of fascinated by all of that whole sort of genre,
So
if you will.
what's your, or where is your speculation taking you? What do you think might be causing the glitches in the Matrix? Again, Nano, this is pure speculation because
Oh, sure, pure
yeah, and
speculation.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer here. I just like that.
Right.
See, talking
My
about these
favorite
things, it's
theory
brilliant.
of recentness is that somehow we have crossed over, interlinked, or connected with another reality. And it's like this overlay, and we're constantly sort of like the scraper. Where did the
like the
scraper
TV
go?
show Fringe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and are we being influenced by that? And even our buddy from D-Wave said he did not know what time was, which was so heartening to me because I felt like, yeah, it's not your watch and it's not your clock. It's something else. And our consciousness, I've been focusing on that. It's like, so if we go back to this whole California thing, if enough people wake up and we start laughing at the globalists, because laughter is a wonderful weapon, will we be able to move past this stupidness that they have us? It's almost like
I think you're
they
right, though. I
are.
think, I think that's one of the biggest secrets. Just a change in our perspective, the way we
Right.
perceive things, and instead of, concentrating on all of the bad stuff that is out there, I'm not denying
Yeah.
any of it, but like you say, if we can put out enough intent, almost as if there's maybe that 100 monkeys, maybe a million minds, a billion minds. I don't know what it is, but maybe that then it's the overriding frequency. It sounds new agey, it sounds out there, but
Right.
we don't know the power of our own brains. I don't even think we come close to comprehending it. I don't think we can comprehend it using our own brains to think about the brain. And that sounds weird, I get it. But think about that. I mean, you're asking us to use our brains and then to step outside of the brain with our own brain to analyze how that same brain does everything. It does. I don't think we can compute what's going on with our minds, Nano. I think our computing power takes us so far to that point where consciousness, things like that, we can describe it. We can get close to approximating what it is. But do we really? Are we really seeing the whole picture there? Or is it like the light spectrum? Or are we only seeing a little kind of tiny slither of what's really the full potential, the full game that's in town there? I don't know. Does AI help us to unlock that further secrets of the mind? I don't know. I like to think that the advantages of the AI, it will certainly help us, work with it, and it will give us the answers that we need to maybe take us on to that next level. Now, at the same time, I see the whole doom and gloom aspect of the AI and the robots and everything else. But yeah, this is talk about interesting times, Nanogirl.
Well, I do want to put this out here, and I've heard other people say this as well. I have noticed that what I think about, I am creating much more quickly, and it doesn't take much effort. It happens very fast, and I've noticed it in the smaller things. Like I'll think of something, and I it's happened to me in the past, but it's happening much more clearly. Why is that? Is it because I'm more awake? Did all this tech stuff poke something in my head and I'm more awake, or I'm more comfortable with it, or are we in some kind of place where that has come into fruition too? I gotta wonder. Catherine Austin Fitts said that the freaks that are putting out, she didn't use that word, that the freaks that are putting out all of this mind control stuff are being affected by it as well. And I've been concentrating on thinking about, what does that mean? What does that mean if they're affected by it as well? And does that give us a home court advantage? And I think it does.
You see, I
I
think
mean,
they're already affected. I think there's already something wrong with somebody's psyche that
yeah,
wants to control other people's minds. And this is where I go full woo, and it's not technological mind control these people are under. It's almost parasitical. It's something interdimensional that these people are being influenced by. Why do I say that? Because it's the only way for it to make sense. That there's people out there that would be willing to do this to others. And that's before we get up the pyramid towards those at the top that wouldn't even lose a moment's sleep over genocide. There's something different going on with these people, and it goes beyond the way they're wired, for me anyway. And
yeah.
I could go full woo from there, Nano, but we won't go full woo from there. So it's been great having you back on, though, I must admit. And I hope you've enjoyed our new pimped out VIP lounge here. I like how we had it looking for you today. I think it's looking
I
pretty
think
cool.
it's spectacular. I love what you did with my picture.
You like that?
And
Thank
I
you.
loved it.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
awesome. It makes me feel like, okay, the new direction.
Almost
Love
like
it.
a new dawn, the sun rising on the new age beside you.
Yes.
There'll be conspiracy theorists out there saying, look at that nano girl with all the sun symbology going on. And the fact that the nano girl's leaning to the right, she's on the right-hand path. I hear it all now, Nano. I hear it now.
All because of you.
All
No,
because
this
of
has
me.
been great, and it's been a awesome Sunday, and thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us. It's been great.
Well, I've really enjoyed having you back on. Please let's not leave it as long next time. And I'm sure the members, if Sunday works for you, I'm sure, the occasional Sunday here and there, whenever you're free and that, I'm sure the members would love to hang out with you. And of course, I would never make it just member only when Nano's on, because I know there's far more people watching right now who can't participate in the chat. And that's because this is our special treat for all of you out there who have gone that extra yard. For some reason, you've got faith in me. Maybe I entertain you. Maybe I make you laugh. But for whatever reason, you've stepped up to the plate. You've taken that extra step and you've gone the extra yard to become a member. And along the way, if I can give you little treats here and there, little exclusive videos as well, then that's my way of thanking all of you for helping to support me. But I thank everyone who's watching this, anyone who isn't a member as well, because information like Nano shares, it should be for everyone. It should certainly be free. And okay, we've got the chat room locked away for members here, but I didn't want to deny people listening to somebody that they've really kind of respected over the years, Nano, i.e. you. And I think this has been the perfect way for us to not only get back in touch with each other, catch up with everything going on, but your fan base out there, because you've probably got as many fans as I do with the amount of shows that we've done together back in the day. So it's just been a win-win-win-win situation for everyone.
Kev, you are the sweetest guy. Thank you for saying that. That is, you really are a total sweetheart.
You see, I do try. The accent helps as well, though, right?
It really makes the deal. It closes the deal.
There you see that. I knew it. It's all about the accent. One of these days I'll get content and then I'll have a show. I'm telling you, wait till you see the show I've got.
You want to
then.
hear some funny things? Like, in order for me to check out, I've been finding these really wonderful old shows, and some of them are done in Scotland, and I can understand what they're saying because of my friend Kev and Johnny Whistles.
See, we're like the Rosetta Stone. We've unlocked a world that would have been denied to you otherwise. See, no, all joking aside, this has been awesome. It was great that you reached out. I sent you an email. I'm bad for emails. You can tell anyone that. I'm terrible. But it wasn't that long ago I sent one off to you, and I'm thinking, it's got to be time we had the Nano back. And then the universe, one thing happens, another thing happens, things align, and here we are, back together again. It's like Romeo and Juliet. Wouldn't go that far.
It was awesome. Without the poison.
That's it. Or maybe we could be Cagney and Lacey. In this world of gender fluidity, I can be Cagney for the day. It's okay. Unless you want to be Lacey, I'm easy with that.
Which one was Sharon Glass? Which one was Sharon Glass?
Hey, as long as I can be a woman for the day, I don't mind which one I am.
Okay.
There we are.
Yeah, that was a great show, though. Yeah.
That was a good show. I loved
hilarious.
Cagney and Lacey. I did like that
Cagney
show.
and Lacey.
Kojak.
I think we need to use a show that's got a little more woo woo in it, though.
Before you go, X-Files for me and you, Nano, it's a no-brainer.
Oh, perfect. Okay, there you are.
Well,
I'm signed up for that.
Before you go, what's the best show you've watched recently? Anything good? Any good shows that you've managed to catch?
Yes. The guys or the men or the boys. The boys. Was that on Netflix? The one where they had the superheroes.
All right,
and then they had the
out. Is it called The
Netflix?
Boys?
What?
What's it called? The Boys?
Yes.
Well, I'll need to check that out.
I think so. But it's the one where they had the superhero guys, and what it's like when big business owns superheroes.
Oh, I think that's Amazon. Yeah.
Yes. Was it Amazon?
Yep.
Okay. Oh my God, that was so good because it was all about the people that run Washington. If you could certainly transfer, and you feel so good when these protagonist guys go after them. It was so
I've
great.
missed our binging on TV shows and things like that, Nano. People still hate on me for watching the TV, and sometimes I just talk about it to trigger them. So yeah, no, try to think of anything good I've watched, something really stand out recently. I've actually been watching an older thing, Well, it's not older. The first season came out a couple of years ago, but it's called Mr. Mercedes, and it's a TV version of a Stephen King trilogy.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. Quite dark. I must admit, it is quite dark at times as well. But wow, what a show this is! And then watched something the other day from the DC universe, Swamp Thing.
Yes.
Very good first episode. Really
Really?
impressed by it. And then
Swamp Thing.
my son, he starts laughing. I'm like, what's funny? He says that they've cancelled it after one episode, which I was shocked at because I thought this had pretty good potential. So yeah, we'll need to keep our eyes open for more shows. How about Dark? Did you watch that one?
Yes, I did.
Oh, Nano. I actually thought of you when I was watching that. I mean, this is like got 3 generations all kind of time traveling and going back and forth. And wow, how cool
I
was
made
that?
myself finish it. It was hard to watch. It was also very dark, but it was very good.
Very
You're right.
good. Yeah, very good take on the whole time
It-
travel thing.
Did you ever watch the time travel show that it was shoot.
My favorite one ever was
Who's the guy that did She's Gotta Have It? He did that movie, She's Gotta Have It.
I'm sure, but
And
Travelers is the best time
no,
travel.
this
show.
one was really good. There was one movie, and Michael J. Fox had a little tiny part in it, but it's about these 2 kids that they live. One of them loses her brother to the fight in the streets, and she tries to travel back to prevent it from happening.
Oh, I'll need to try and.
That was really good, and I
That
can't
sounds
remember
good.
the name of it, but that was really good. It was about these 2 kids trying to do time travel and fix things.
Well, it sounds pretty
Yep.
good. Can't beat a bit of time travel, folks. Can't beat it. Only you won't find it at Apex TV here on YouTube, because I'm quite convinced that these time travelers that turn up at 1, 2, 3 a week, who always have their faces blacked out and always turn up at Apex TV on YouTube for whatever reason, I don't think we're going to find the secrets of temporal access technology there. But that doesn't mean to say that the time machines ain't out there. So with that good woo in mind, let me thank all of you members again. If anyone wants to become a member, just go and click the join page on the channel, like I'm doing right here. And you can get in at the very bargain deal of £1.99 a month. There's £4.99 a month or £8.99 a month. And that's depending on how much you can spare. And only if you can, because never forget, I'll still be here, folks. I'll still be giving you my brand of crazy, whatever happens. But it just goes a long, long way to supporting everything we do here. And talking about everything we do, I'll be back later with Joe Joseph and Scotty Lopez. And we'll be continuing our weird weekend. What we're going to be talking about, I've got absolutely no idea. I don't speak from the boys between last night and tonight's show. There's no planning. It's totally impromptu. It's unscripted. It's uncut. It is very close to the bone, and that's what makes it the weird weekend. So, Nano, last word with you, and then I'll play us some lovely, lovely tunes to take us out today.
Big hugs, everybody, and have a really awesome, wonderful week. And again, thank you for being with Kevin and I tonight. And Kev, it was wonderful to be on your show again. Yay.
Absolutely, Nano. And we'll have Nanogirl back sometime real soon. Next Sunday, we'll be having members only stream. Yes, that's members only. We'll be getting nice and cozy with Kev in the VIP lounge. That sounds a whole lot dodgier than I intended it to be. But we'll be back later on today. Charlie Robinson coming up on the show next week. We've also got Danny McKenney coming up on the show as well. And we're going to be talking about magnetics, timelines, merging of dimensions. Nano, you're going to love that show. That's on Tuesday the 15th. And we've got somebody called Tiffany Fitzhenry coming up on October the 24th.
She's great.
She's going to be on
I j-
KBS, my friend.
I just found her. She's awesome.
She's going to be on KBS. Yes, indeed. And a big shout out to Simon Kearney. Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll have Homer jumping onto the screen in just a moment. And before I let you go, Nano, once Homer's come on, hopefully Homer's going to jump about in a second. But sometimes if people upgrade or they just renew their membership, we don't get the alert. But I'm not sure if you've seen the... There he is. There he is. And folks, we're already down into the teens. So we're getting really close to that 100 members in the new emoji. But I think Nanogirl deserves to see the Kev dance. What do you think, folks? Will we show Nano the Kev dance? Get ready for this, Nano. Once you
Okay.
see me like this, some people say you can never see me the same again. Here we go. Wrong button. Wrong button. See, I had you.
This is a test donation for pounds.
That's not it. Here we go. Are you ready? You ready? There you go.
Oh no.
This is a test super chat alert for £55.
You mean, Nano, you don't like the dancing, Kev? Everyone likes
I
my
do.
dancing. He's cool, isn't he?
Look at your face.
Just one more time, then. It's the facial expressions that get me. I do think that adds to it all.
Your eyes and look at that.
This is a test super chat alert for £72.
You look good in pineapple. That dress.
I look absolutely splendid, don't I?
Look at those shoes.
Hey, if you can't laugh at yourself, Nano, then what right have you got to laugh
that
at
made
anyone
my
else?
day. That was great. You're right. I am not going to be able to get that out of my head.
See what I'm saying? Even I can't unsee that now. Even sitting on the toilet at times, I hear that music and I start doing, okay, maybe I'm taking it too far. I don't dance on the toilet, but you get me. It's had a big effect on me and the audience out there, I must admit.
Absolutely.
Nano,
I mean, that's
Nano,
so you.
I love you to bits. I'm so glad that we're still able to hook up, for only a few minutes before showtime today, and yet we're still perfectly in tandem, as if we've been walking about in step at different parts of the globe all this time, and not once have we kind of been out of pace with one another. We come back together, and the chemistry just goes.
It's just funny how that works. I mean, it's like within 10 minutes, it's like there's been no time. We just start talking.
This is, before we go then, this is kind of cool, kind of weird, but in a good way. Because you were talking about the effect that all this is having on Californians. It's waking them up. And we also spoke about the fact that, we are in this time that things are changing energetically as well. And maybe us thinking more positively, looking for the positive in things, that can have a big, big help. But I've noticed something here, personally, with the chat room, because me and you, we're a perfect example of this, right? We came across each other somehow, and that instantly, it was like we knew each other. I've had it with Charlie Robinson to a certain degree as well. But this chat room here on YouTube, and even Google, even the person at Google said this, or something different happens, because it's as if everyone who comes in here, we might not all share the same ideas, which is brilliant. I don't want everyone to have the same ideas, but we all connect on a certain level. And I see people becoming like proper friends in the chat room. And then they're over on Discord and it's carrying on 24/7. And it's almost like, I don't know, it's like the positive energies that we're putting out, me, you, all the other people out there, we're attracting the right people to us. Now, we might not change the world with 200 odd people on a YouTube stream. In fact, we'll never change the world. But I tell you what, I can't think of a better bunch of people to be hanging about with while all of this is going on. And maybe that doesn't make sense. But I think if we keep in this positive mindset, we can change the world around us, even to a certain little degree, even if it's just the minds of those. And people like-minded, Nano, they want to join in. They recognize people like them right now.
If you look at politicians or anybody who's trying to sell anything, you really sell much more with positive than with negative. People always choose fear to sell things. And it's, but do you want to hang out with them? Of course you don't. And it's, of course, I look at your chat room and they're so sweet to each other. Everybody's nice and everybody knows each other. And, it's like, it's so refreshing. Yep. And you're right. I think you've attracted a wonderful caliber of people that they just want to be informed. They want to have fun. They want to laugh a little bit. You got to laugh at some of this stuff because it's ridiculous. And, it's nice to be able to do that. And, you know, look at that. I love it.
Another new member. We love you, Neil Bowie. Absolutely
Yeah, welcome.
fantastic.
So
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying is that I think, you know, I relate and I want to throw this out there. Those people whose tweets I was reading, I felt like I knew them. It's the weirdest thing. Reading that stuff from them, like, hey, whoa, what the heck's happening here? We're grabbing and we're connecting with other awake people. We've been waiting a long time to do this. And that is the biggest blessing of this tech, seriously. And I do think that's what Steve Jobs wanted. I think he wanted people to take the technology, starting out with the computer and, you know, moving forward and empower yourself. He said that a lot. So from that perspective, I think he was probably happy.
I think so. And we're going to have the ridiculous dancing Kev. There he is.
Oh,
Love you, Nano
Aunt.
Girl
Oh,
and Kev Brown
that's
Chicken
so
Brown
sweet.
Cow Smoke if you got romantic face, hugging face.
Romantic face, hugging face. You face hugger, you. I don't want to be face hugged on my own stream. That's terrible. No,
But
thank you
it would
very,
be so
very much.
cute with the pineapple hat. You got to be face hugged.
Oh, hey, everyone needs a good face hug, right, Nano?
Yes.
But check this one out, because it's not the only one we have.
Oh my God.
I thought you knew we had such delights here on the... And it's rude. How rude to make him dance without any music on. Come on, Rabbit. Get doing it. There he is. You got to love it, Nano, right?
I do.
People, all my
Well, a
trolls
lot of
out
times
there.
I have you on the background, and so I'm not looking at a lot of the stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
See,
yeah.
we've added the whole visual component to now. Not many other streamers out there have the kahunas to make themselves the butt of the joke every time somebody shows them some love in the chat room. But maybe that's the attraction. Maybe just people want to see me making a butt of myself, and that's why they donate. Either way, it's a win-win. Everyone's happy. You get more of me.
Exactly. I love
Yep.
it. Was this creepy Kev Bunny?
Creepy Kev Bunny, yes. Not the first time I've been called Creepy Kev, unfortunately. I'm only joking. Nobody calls me Creepy Kev. That's terrible.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
But Nano, I've had a
Yeah.
blast. Let's not leave it so long next time.
Okay.
And
Yep.
if Sundays work for you, I'm sure the members will be over the moon if you drop in an occasional Sunday and we can do it all again. And we'll always try and leave people with that positive and kind of smile on their face. And I hope the Rabbit, I hope the dancing Kev may have done that. And I think Nano's message in general today, it's a serious thing that's going on, but I like how she's flipping this around, doing the 180 and taking this negativity, this potential event that could be for many things, but finding the positive in it. There's so many other channels out there that will be absolutely concentrating on the negative and the problems. And I'm not saying we're offering solutions, but at least we're trying to tackle it a different way. And we're certainly not adding to that fear vibe that the mainstream and everyone else wants us in. So until later today, folks, you have a good one. Keep it real. Keep your minds open. Don't be letting the brain turn to black goo. And I'll speak to you all later on. Enjoy the tunes on the way out. No dancing, Kev. No, I don't think so anyway. Wrong tune. This one. There we go. See, that's a nice happy tune, Nano, right?
I love that. Summer smile.